Welcome to our Axios virtual event on the future of the music industry. I'm Sarah Fisher, a senior media reporter, and I'm coming to you live today from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Welcome to our audiences around the world on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and of course, those joining us on Axios.com. Join the conversation today on Twitter and on social media using the hashtag AxiosEvents. Over the next 30 minutes, I'll be joined by my colleague, Erica Pandy, and we'll explore the future of the music industry in today's digital world. Our first guest is Grammy-nominated DJ, producer, and entrepreneur, Steve Aoki, who is joining us today from Las Vegas. Hey, Steve, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, this is fun. This is great.
We were so pumped to have you with us, Steve, because you are somebody who pushes the boundaries when it comes to what artists can do, when it comes to innovation. You're somebody who is exploring the metaverse. You think about NFTs, you think about your community. You're not afraid to go deep on digital. And of course, that's endemic to being a DJ, but I also think that's special to you. You have pushed these bounds. And so my first question is, what has inspired you to be the person that was going to take chances, that was going to explore the metaverse, do all these different things while other artists were just more so thinking about, touring and merch?
I think the underlying interests for me have always been about how to embolden my curiosity. I've always been an explorer. I remember like a long time ago, there was a question someone asked me like, "Hey, what would you be if you were a DJ?" I'm like, the first thing I was thinking about was like, well, if this is like 400 years ago, I would be probably on like those ships, like sailing the seas, trying to like see new lands or new things. I love to explore uncharted territory, whether it's physical, whether it's digital, whether it's, you know, in my head, a dream, like, all these different things. I'm always very curious about what else is out there. What can we do to create in these spaces? And that's another thing too. So you have this excitement of exploration, this curiosity of what's out there. And then for me, like since I was a child, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to create, whether it's a song, playing guitar when I first got into music, to making fashion items, to whatever it might be. Like if I'm excited about something, I want to be able to find a way to be creative in that space. And at an early age, what I learned is that the barrier of entry to be creative is zero. You don't have to necessarily be good. Everyone starts bad, and then through practice of repetition and understanding what your passions are, then you realize if it's a direction you want to go in, and you realize that being creative and being an artist is not about good or bad. It's about how much you love it or how much you don't.
That excitement of exploration, can I just hold in on that real fast? Like so
Yeah.
much of what you do on the digital side, that's not exciting for a lot of artists. A lot of people look at that and say, oh, well, that's just some far off digital thing. Like, why are you so excited about the digital stuff?
I mean, I'm already digital. Like here we are, we're digital. So by the basis of life, of like the imprint of our identities, of how we see ourselves in culture, the impacts that we make in culture, a lot of it is actually not in the real. A lot of it is digital. A lot of it is through our phones, through our computers, the optics of who we are. Most of the people don't really see me personally. Like actually, there's only a few people that actually see me personally, unless you're at my show. Most of the time, it's through like YouTube, it's through like our social media platforms, and now what the visual layer is hoping to become, and which is what I'm excited about, is the metaversal aspect, because we already are in a metaverse. Here we are in one metaverse playing games in Fortnite, Call of Duty. That's another metaverse. The way we interact in social media is another metaverse. The visual layers of what Sandbox looks like, or what Web3 will look like when gaming is actually a big part of Web3, like what that will look like. That's going to become actually the norm. Web3, to me, when I think about Web3, this is the best way for me to explain it. Web3 is like, this is what we want. This is what we hope to want, the transparency, the idea that everything's on the blockchain is all transparent. So if you're a musician, if you're an artist, you want to see who's taking what cut at what time, the provenance, all those details are there. You want to own those things. You don't want another company to own it. So we're saying Web3 is just saying, hey, this is what could happen. It's actually, the blueprint exists, but it's so new that a few people are like, hey guys, let me try to toy with this. Let's see how this works if I implement it into my world, which is what I'm doing with Aokiverse, which is what I'm doing with my NFTs, which is what I'm doing when I'm DJing in these spaces or interacting with places like Sandbox and creating my own worlds in that. I'm like, I want to see what that looks like, just to show you guys, it's already working in our small little niche ecosystem. Of course, it's small because it's brand new, and what it will become the norm. Just like, how technology has changed from the internet to social media to, essentially, the underlying layers that we all can agree that if we're actually using smartphones and we're actually talking on Zooms and watching this interview, that we are a large part of who we are, our identity is a digital.
Totally. But, I think one of the things that you just addressed is that you're early. And I think a lot of artists are looking to you and wondering, how did it go? You did these virtual concerts. Did you feel like you had a big audience? Were they very engaged? Or do you think we're still far off from being able to host something like a concert in the metaverse and have a meaningful audience intend and get really into it?
It's a kind of thing that when you're actually doing it, you might feel like no one's watching. Perfect example, when I played in Fortnite, right? I played in Fortnite in my house. It was a live broadcast from my house being played in a game, and there's only like 10 people in the house because it was
And when
COVID.
was that?
This was during COVID, so probably 2020, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Time. And they're like, okay, so yeah, you're gonna be playing in Fortnite, and basically the cameras are set up in my house, and I played my set, and I was like, when I was done, I was like, that was it. I'm like in my living room, right? And I didn't feel the impact of what it could have. And I remember a few weeks later, we asked Fortnite, like, how many people saw this? Like, oh, they're like, we can't tell you how many people actually watched it, but what we can tell you is that it reached over 2.2 billion people. It reached over 2 billion people. I mean, that's just absurd to me to hear. So I don't know how many people were in the game, but I'm assuming it is the biggest show I've ever done. As far as how many people were attending, I don't know if it's like in the six figures or the seven figures or whatnot, but the fact that it reached that many people, it's digital. It just, it's like, it's wild to me. And I still get reverberations. I still get like these kids that run up to me in the airport going, I saw you in Fortnite a couple of years ago. I was at your concert. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So like you do sometimes forget like the kind of impact that the digital world really is and has, and how many people live in the space without realizing they're already in a metaverse. They already come home from their real world, and they get into their Roblox, they get into their Fortnite, they get into their Call of Duty, they get into whatever, and they live in that world with their friends, and they're buying the skins. Like if that kid is like, hey mom, I need $40, and mom's like, well, I'm gonna give you $40 to buy a shirt for school, or $40 to buy a shirt for your Roblox. I almost will. I take a bet that kid, if he's on Roblox, he'd rather have that shirt that he can buy in Roblox. So it's just, we are already part of it's part of our culture. It's part of our culture, and it's gonna get to the point where we're gonna be using Web3 tools, the infrastructure of Web3, because it makes sense for us to use it. We want the transparency. We want the information. We want to be able to buy and sell and own things at the end of the day. Like we don't do that now, Web 2. So once we have that foundation, Web 2 will be kind of like where CDs are. They're cool. People still buy them, but at the end of the day, we want to stream stuff because we want to hear music.
Okay, but question for you. You have all these people who are attending virtual concerts, myself included. But at the end of the day, how many of them are actually buying stuff? How many of them are engaging in NFTs?
I don't know what the percentage is. I know it's small. I'm already well aware that like the ecosystem is a very concentrated ecosystem of people that believe in crypto, people that believe in in the same concepts and philosophy of where we're going and the trajectory where we're going, and want to get there early. We already know as a society and through history that whenever you get there early, when everyone's inevitably going to get there, you already know what's going to happen. We already know why everyone went west in the Wild Wild West to start panning for gold or start settling in California when no one was settling there. We already know when there's neighborhoods being developed and people think everyone's going to move here, I want to get there first because property value is going to go up. We already know those things. So when you already know that the inevitable is happening, when I already see from when people before internet to what internet happened, from before social media to how everyone adopted social media as a way to communicate, socialize, and date, and all that fun stuff that happens. We already know that's happening. Before it wasn't so obvious. We're on the verge. We're at Web 2.2. We're Web 2.0. We're merging into Web 2.5. We still have some time to Web 3.0 where it's going to become the norm. But I already know we're already going there. The tools is already set up in a way where it's what people want. We already want those things to happen in Web 2. There's not enough people going there yet. So we need people like myself that are, making fun little projects, activities, and ways to entertain the people that are already there, which is what I'm doing. And I've been doing it. This is the new underground. I remember when I first started DJing to 30, 40 people of passionate people that love this kind of music. It wasn't meant for everyone else yet. And then boom, I'm playing a club to 30, 40 people to now I'm playing to a festival to 30, 40,000 people, and everyone's having the time of their lives. So I feel like this is a new underground for me.
I think so too, but it's so unique that you are this passionate about it, Steve Aoki, because so many artists look at this as being something that's so far off that they don't need to do right now. And I think by you engaging like this, you are ahead of the curve. So thank you so much for talking today.
I know we're over the clock, and I have to say, they don't need to do it. They really don't. You don't need to do it. This is, to me, it's like an excitement. You have to like really love it. Just like anything, like something like this that's so new and so early. Don't do it unless you're really excited or curious or you want to be engaged in that scene. It's not something passive. This isn't like listening to the radio and hearing a song that you like. You have to be, you're a creator in this space. You're going to be, whatever you do in the space, your voice will actually have an impact no matter how small you are, because it's that small. That's exciting. As a creator, it's exciting to have a voice that actually has an impact.
It's totally exciting. But like I said, I think it's very unique to you. Even though not everyone needs to get into it, the fact that you were early to it is impressive. And we're so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for walking us through it.
Thank you.
And next, we have a View from the Top segment with Chris Freites.
Hey, thank you, Sarah. And thank you to our sponsor, Sound Exchange, for making this conversation possible. And joining me now from Sound Exchange is the president and CEO, Michael Huppy. Michael, welcome to Axios.
Thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
So first things first, what is Sound Exchange for those who don't know? How does it work?
Sound Exchange is an interesting company that sits in the middle of music, technology, and data, and we are in the business of making the music industry work a little bit better. Our primary role is to collect royalties from over 3,600 non-interactive digital streaming services, many of which your listeners use, I'm sure, and distribute it directly to artists and record labels. So a big part of our workforce is dedicated to watching these royalties across thousands of platforms We have best-in-class technology. We have patented matching algorithms. We have the best sound recording database in the world. And we work on making sure that money gets out accurately and fairly. And to give you a sense of scale, we were created in the digital age to do exactly what we do, and we scale pretty successfully. We process over 35 billion data transactions a month, and we pay out over $1 billion a year to over 600,000 accounts. So we're a big part of the recorded industry right now. And we're also moving now into music publishing. We have a publisher services company called SX Works that provides solutions to that half of the business as well. So we're kind of, in a way, the back end of a lot of what happens for digital streaming.
Yeah, 35 billion transactions a month, 600,000 accounts. That is a ton. So what does that look like on the artist side? What does success look like for your artists, and in particular, maybe your lesser known artists?
Well, success can mean different things to different people, right? It obviously means, if you're a headliner, or it can mean hit singles and very large payments. But for a lot of artists, hundreds of thousands out there that we have connections with, it really just means pursuing your passion and making a successful living at it. On the larger side, you have examples like Randy Travis. Many of your viewers know that he's enduring a long recovery from a stroke that he suffered 10 years ago. And the money that we pay him is critical because he can no longer tour or drop any new records. So what we provide to him is critical to his rehabilitation and to his family's recovery. But it's just as important to the working class artists who use it to help pay their rent, go on tour, book studio time. I'm reminded of a working class band several years ago. We were trying to find traveling, gig to gig in the back of a van. And when we finally found them, it gave them the incentive to keep on doing this and keep on practicing their art. And it isn't just about the money, Chris. Yes, that's helpful, but it's also about validation. So, we help the big and the small. And interestingly, it's never been as easier to make music than it is now. But in some ways, it's never been as hard to get paid for it. There are so many different platforms and systems and ways that people pay across the globe. And we are here to help make that a little bit easier for performers and labels.
Yeah, and I think that gives you a really unique vantage point into the music industry. I wonder, what do you think has to happen to make the playing field fairer and to level it?
Well, we're here talking about the future of music. As we think about all these new technologies like Web3 and metaverse, they're great and exciting platforms, but they're often built on the backs of creators. And we have to make sure that labels and artists and songwriters and publishers are all part of the discussion, because they deserve to participate fairly in the wealth that these new platforms inevitably are going to create. And that's sort of in the future, moving a little bit closer to the present. Another big issue that we're focused on is making sure that performers get paid when their music is played on AM/FM radio. Many of your viewers don't know this, but the U.S. is the only democratic industrialized country that does not pay performers for the over-the-air radio. It is a travesty, puts us in the company of countries that don't protect IP as properly as they should. So we are constantly fighting to fix that. Good news is there's a bill in Congress called the American Music Fairness Act, both the House and the Senate, that seeks to rectify that. And it has the support of not only the whole industry, but also even some broadcasters. So hopefully we're on our way to fixing that inequity as well.
So you talked a little bit about the future, Web3, the metaverse, new streaming technologies, and they are sure to continue to disrupt an industry that has just seen constant disruption for the last 2 decades. I wonder, how will these technologies continue to change the industry?
It's going to be exciting to watch the technology for the next 5 years. And it's not just one technology. It's not just like the invention of the CD or the advent of the download. We're talking about new delivery platforms, new payment methods, new currencies, new business models. And it's all going to change how music is valued and consumed and made. So take concerts, for example. No longer are concerts limited to just where the venue is, right? You can have concerts throughout the globe. You can even have concerts of artists who no longer are with us if they're, AI created avatars that can recreate some of the concerts from a decade ago. You have NFTs that allow artists to provide, things to their fans that they can hold and cherish and have a special piece of the artist experience. You have ways in the metaverse that artists and fans can collaborate in a way that they never could before. So all of this is going to be fascinating to watch. It's going to be a very exciting time, and data and analytics and tracking is going to be more important than ever to make sure that all of those artists and labels that contribute are able to get paid for that.
And we talked a little bit about the technology, and we have about a minute left. And I'm curious, where do you see the industry going in the next 5 years? What is the future of music writ large?
So look, the music industry continues to thrive. The global music market actually grew in 2021, in the midst of the pandemic, by almost 19%. It's up to around $26 billion. And we continue to see that growth coming in 2023. And I think the thing to watch out for in the future are some of the things I talked about: artificial intelligence, blockchain, the metaverse. All of it is going to bring new creations to the user and to the fan. There are going to be ways that fans can interact and experience music that they never even contemplated before. So that's what's interesting to watch about in the future. And ultimately, we at Sound Exchange want to make sure that we have an industry that's financially healthy and fair. And I'm optimistic we're going to get there. With support from Sound Exchange as well as all of our partners in the industry, we need to move toward make sure a music industry is stronger, fair, and more resilient. It's going to continue to grow, and it's going to be awesome to watch what happens over the next 5 years.
We have to leave it there. Michael Huppy is the president and CEO of Sound Exchange. Michael, thank you so much for joining Axios.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I really appreciate it.
And now over to Erica Pandy.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Erica Pandy, a business reporter here at Axios, and our final guest is co-founder and CEO of Audius, Ronil Rumberg, who's joining today from New York City. Hi, Ronil.
Hey, Erica. Thanks for having me.
So, Ronil, my first question for you is, what are the biggest changes in the music industry that you see either already in motion or coming from the artist's perspective?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift that we're seeing happen is away from kind of this like one size fits all streaming and monetization model, as I call it. So what I mean by that is on a lot of the existing channels, there's a fixed subscription price. Creators don't really have any kind of input or control of how pricing works, and don't really have any agency around how their content is offered. It's kind of just, it is one size fits all, right? Like all content is the same. We're moving towards a world where the diversity of offerings is increasing substantially, and the fragmentation that exists around how music is monetizing is increasing. But as a result of that, artists have more freedom than ever, and that's the trend that I think we're most excited about right now, is the level of control that artists have now and are continuing to gain when it comes to how they think about monetizing their fans and managing those fans. It's really an exciting time to be in this space.
And I guess my next question for you would just be that flipped from the fan perspective. What should fans expect to be the biggest changes and the biggest improvements?
Yeah, I think the biggest one really is just being able to be closer to your favorite artists and have an opportunity to kind of be more a part of that creative process. So an example of that on Audius, their artists will use the tools that we've built to conduct these remix competitions with their fans. So they'll share a piece of content and then tell their fans like, hey, you guys can do whatever you want with this, like try making cool variations of it. And then I'll go listen to all of them in a week and like give you my feedback, right? Experiences like that aren't possible on other on the more traditional like streaming platforms, right? Just because there's no relationship really exists in a meaningful way between artist and fan, right? Similarly across, I guess it's in today's world, it's hard to talk about the future of music without like Web3 coming up in some capacity, right? But it really is that directness of relationship that as a fan you can develop with an artist. And I think it's something special, and it kind of I don't know, in a way harkens back to like the local music scenes of, you know, the 80s or 90s before digital music had really caught on. The way, you know, the way that kind of that closeness of interaction could emerge was in these local music scenes, right? Like where I grew up in the Washington D.C. suburbs, there was this local scene around post-hardcore music, because that's what happened to be like really, you know, that was the city where that genre kind of broke, right? And I think what these tools are now allowing today for artists and fans is, in a digital context, the opportunity to have that closeness of interaction. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love this Back to the Future piece of it, right? Like using tech to go back to some stuff that we loved about the way things were done years ago. You mentioned one example, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about Audius and your role, and kind of where you sit in this intersection between tech, music, and the future.
Yeah, so Audius at a super high level is a music community and discovery platform. It's a place to share content, find fans as an artist, and then as a fan, it's a place to you know, discover cool content, engage with your favorite artists, and kind of build a relationship with them there. It's a fully decentralized network and ecosystem. And what that means for the artist is they have this level of control of that interaction that they have with their fans that they don't have anywhere else, right? Being able to do things like that remix competition, or being able to gate access to experiences on, you know, any form of input, right? Like maybe you only want a given fan to be able to listen to some exclusive piece of content if they've been following you for more than like a month or a year or whatever, right? But the whatever is the key there. It's kind of a choose your own adventure, and I think that's yeah, we've been really excited to see how much the community has sort of taken to this model and run with it. Today, we're seeing millions of fans listen to content on Audius every month, and around 250,000 artists have engaged so far as well. So yeah, it's been quite a fun ride, but there's a lot more ahead here, and I think a lot more ahead at this intersection point that we're talking about. I think we're obviously biased in being excited for these trends, but we're not the only ones. I think there are a lot of other folks building for this future of you know, direct fan engagement, and kind of, it's almost like these vertically integrated business models for artists, right? Whereas an artist, you can kind of own that full stack of distribution and those channel relationships that exist underneath you.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about this idea of control. Like, music is so populated by middlemen, right? I think of the Ticketmaster example. I was one of the many that was not able to get Taylor Swift tickets. And you know, artists don't like it, fans don't like it. How does the decentralized nature of this change the way maybe artists are even compensated? Or like, how does this make sure the fans' support, fans' dollars is going to the source of the music?
Yeah, there's so much to unpack around those payment flow issues, but I think the pithiest way to explain this I've come across is to look at the market size of music, right? It's about $42 billion a year in overall revenue. That's when you combine merchandise, ticketing, recorded music. I mean, like everything, right? And artists are only capturing about 12% of that right now. The other 88% is actually going to, Erica, like you described, various different middle people that exist in different parts of that supply chain. The biggest issue, though, that exists there right now is there's no transparency, accountability, understanding of where that leakage is happening or how that leakage is happening. There's also really not there's not a means for artists to access fans that doesn't go through these various intermediaries that sit in between that flow, right? So the future that I think we and so many others are working towards is one where first and foremost the artist, back to that point on control, has agency around what they do with their following, how they manage it, how they grow it, and the ability to carry that following between different experiences, right? To be able to say, to be able to aggregate and understand a given fan's interaction with you between ticketing and say Audius and say a piece of physical merch that the individual bought. It's not possible to really understand a view of the fan that is holistic in that way. You get these kind of siloed slices of information, and you don't really understand how how money is flowing back from that. So yeah, like in this future, it becomes much easier to make that take rate a lot higher, right? When there is transparencies. In the case of Audius, it's a 90-10 split. Many of our other, as in 90% of the revenue an artist generates is going to them. 10% is going to support the infrastructure that enables it, the folks in the community that are running nodes and doing things like that. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, I think being able to see and understand those numbers is the first step towards improving them. And I think that's where many are focused right now.
I'll end with a super quick question that actually came from an audience member. Everyone's dying to know, does generative AI have a future in the music industry? Is ChatGPT going to make the next hit single?
Oh, what a great question. So the pithy answer is, I think, yes. The longer answer is, I think it is reductive to think that, fully, music created in a fully automated fashion will somehow replace humans in the loop. Tooling has gotten better for making music consistently for the last 30, 40 years, right? Like I can sit in my bedroom today and make a piece of music that is quality-wise indistinguishable from something produced in a professional studio. That's an amazing thing, right? And generative AI applied to music is just like the next logical step there, right? Maybe I don't need to understand how to design like the shape of a waveform to create a drum sound that I really like. I could describe the drum sound that I want and get the machine to make that for me. That's not something to be afraid of. That's something to be celebrated, right? And I think it is the next logical step in human augmentation. But I think we're a very long way off from AI. I think being able to generate like a end-to-end piece of music that's even listenable, let alone like comparable to what a professionally produced piece of content sounds like. I think we're right at the doorstep of AI like fundamentally altering the creative process and just making that accessible to so many more people. And that combination, right? Like being able to augment the abilities of the average person, it's a really exciting thing.
Thanks so much for your time, Ronil. Super fascinating conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for joining this afternoon for another virtual conversation that made us all smarter, faster. For more information or to sign up for Sarah's Media Trends newsletter or for my Finish Line newsletter, visit axios.com/newsletters or the Axios app. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you on axios.com.